Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Awesome offensively, and in reality, they weren't awesome offensively. In the first half, they just had the Kwan Lacey broken play. I hate to say this because I do not want to take away credit from everybody who went on the run that they went on. But I think it's fair, maybe you won't, to wonder if that result is different if Lane Kiffin sticks around and everybody else with this Ole Miss.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Time to rise and grind right here on the Early Line on the SportsGrid Network. It's a Thursday show. It's Donnie Rightside along with Joe Ranieri, and you might be looking forward to this weekend's NFL action on Sunday. AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game, but a lot of the country looking forward to an impending snowstorm that could happen that technically has no effect there on Joe Ranieri living in Southern Florida. Happy for him, not happy for the rest of the country, but I'll tell you what we do have. The next 2 hours, we're going to get you caught up on all the hottest topics, including trades in Major League Baseball, injury situations to certain quarterbacks, looking at you, Sam Darnold, and much more coming up right here, Joe, in the Early Line.
Donnie, you scared me there for a minute. I was like, wait a minute, I actually have to wear pants? Like, you got to be kidding me. It's a good thing, Donnie. It's a good thing. You enjoy that snow, though. I'll be thinking about you on the 17th hole.
Shorts and Crocs, the way to go here, but it's time to get caffeinated in the morning. The hottest topic of the day. Joe is about to deliver it. What's good?
Well, Donnie, I got to say, congratulations to the New York Jets. Why? Well, for years, the New York Jets have held the title for the most dysfunctional organization in all of sports. But this morning, that label is officially, and we are handing that crown to Terry Pegula and the Buffalo Bills, because yesterday's press conference wasn't just bad. It was a dumpster fire inside of a train wreck, Donnie. Terry Pegula, the owner, and his newly promoted GM, Brandon Beane, went out and held a press conference to try to explain why they fired Sean McDermott after 9 years. And instead of keeping it professional, Terry Pegula decided to light the entire building on fire. And the lowlight? Well, he literally interrupted a question to throw his own player under the bus. He stopped the press conference to say, well, the coaching staff pushed to draft Keon Coleman. That wasn't Brandon's first choice. You've got to be kidding me, Toddy. Keon Coleman is still on the team with 2 years left on a deal. He is a second-year player. Imagine him watching that, sitting at home or hanging out on the beach, and watching the owner of the team tell the world, yeah, my GM didn't draft him. He's a bust. That was the old coach's fault, apparently. That's the way you build confidence. That used to be the New York Jets way. But here is the best part. The receipts. because within 5 minutes, it took Bills Mafia across social media platforms to find the draft room footage where Brandon Beane was fist pumping and saying, I'm glad he ran a slow 40. It helps us get him. So either you're lying or your GM is lying, but either way, you look like a clown show, Buffalo Bills. They claim McDermott was fired because of the loss to Denver. Pagula gave this whole dramatic story about seeing Josh Allen crying in a locker room. So let me understand this here. You fired the most successful coach that you've had as owner because of one game, but you promoted the GM who gave you those players? And then you alienated your young receiver and your fan base in 45 minutes of talking. Whew! Congrats, Buffalo. You have taken a franchise with a prime Josh Allen and turned it into one of the least desirable places in the NFL. Sean McDermott will land on his feet. I'm not sure the Bills are going to recover anytime soon from this. So, congrats to the Buffalo Bills, and congrats to my New York Jets. You're safe for now. But remember, Jets, you're on the clock.
I'll tell you what's even more incredible about that, too. The fact that the owner said, I based off this decision on the one game against the Denver Broncos because I went into the locker room and everybody was upset. Isn't that the exact reason to keep the coach? Because it's obviously how passionate that team cares about winning and losing on the field. I would have been more upset if I went in there and Josh Allen didn't care about that. Brandon Cooks wasn't crying because the dropped pass / interception there, or players didn't want to talk to the media at that point. I said, you know what? This team cares. Let's keep them together. He did the exact opposite, and we'll see who that next head coach in Buffalo is going to be. Let's get to the hottest topics here on the early lineup, which include the New York Mets making moves. Freddie Peralta, all-star pitcher of the Milwaukee Brewers. He's now a New York Met. Gave up a couple top prospects, fortify that rotation. Good move by the Mets. I always like to say this, Joe. A prospect is just a prospect who we have no idea is how to perform in the major leagues if he's going to do well. Take the known product, which is Freddie Peralta. I like this move by the Mets.
Yeah, it's interesting here, though. But, Peralta is, 29? But, the Brewers, I guess, don't want to, pay for him again? I don't get it. But, okay, the Mets are willing to pay for him. Kudos to them. But, Brandon Woodruff better be healthy for the Brewers. Like to move for the Mets, but the Brewers, I'm scratching my head right now.
That's just what the Brewers do. As soon as a guy's probably up for pay or you can't maybe extend them, you got to move him for prospects, see if you can live to fight another day. The Kansas City Chiefs, little back to the future action here, Joe. Eric Bieniemy, he's coming back as the OC under Andy Reid.
Yeah, well, there appears, listen, the whole MO with Bieniemy is that he was a big disciplinarian there, which worked early on in the career for Mahomes and company, right? But it seemed that there was a little more dysfunction in that organization and in that locker room over the last couple of seasons. So looks like Andy's about to tighten the reins here inside that locker room.
Brian Flores is going to stay with the Minnesota Vikings, gets his contract extended. One of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. Was hoping to probably get a head coaching job, but that still might take some time to calm the waters of the lawsuit against the NFL, going against an ownership group where you're a head coach for, but he'll be back with the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, at the very least, he's got a starting point for a negotiation too, right? New contract, gets a bit of a raise. Well, okay, you're going to have to do better than that if you want to give him a deal. But we always said it. We would be shocked if even with all the openings, if owners were going to offer him a job somewhere, but it appears he's still in the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings.
Buffalo Bills head into their new stadium next year with a new head coach. And by the way, that press conference yesterday doesn't show a lot of upside. Who's going to be that next head coach saying, hey, I wonder if I'm going to get the actual true story heading through. And can I coach the football team? Or do I have to be looking over my shoulder? Dysfunction in Buffalo, as Joe pointed out in Caffeinated Joe.
And this is what happens when billionaire owners are wrong, but refuse to admit they are wrong and double down everywhere they get. They are smarter than everyone else. I can't think of a worse fan base to alienate than Bills Mafia there, Donnie. And in 45 minutes, he alienated his entire team and the entire community of Buffalo. Kudos.
Hey, but at least Josh Allen's going to help pick the next head coach at that point here. How about the San Francisco 49ers? Questions linger on why they're so injured. Is it the electrical substation right next to Levi Stadium, which also is right by their practice fields? John Lynch had to address that yesterday. Isn't that interesting, Joe?
Listen, we heard it. We thought maybe like, why, they can't be serious with this. But apparently where there is smoke, there is fire. So the 49ers better figure it out, because this isn't just a one-off. It's been happening now over the last 3 seasons. And they're all the same type of injuries to all their best players. So leave no stone unturned here, Donnie.
How about this? The New York Yankees bring back Cody Bellinger. Seems like a fait accompli at that point, where he was eventually going to get back. It just mattered how much they were going to pay him. A 5-year contract worth over $160 million. Bellinger back there for the Bronx Bombers.
Yeah, no trade clause, right? Can opt out after what? The second full season or third full season? I mean, very player friendly, Donnie, but let's just hope they're actually playing baseball to finish that contract, because we all know contracts like that is why a lockout is imminent.
Oh, it certainly is. And that's where you're given those opt-outs here. And also, if you get an expanded, let's just say, payroll for Major League Baseball, you can opt out of those and make more money. But if it contracts, if you have a strike, you can say, you know what? I'll take my $30-40 million a year. That sounds just fine. I'll opt back into my deal. Very player-friendly, as Joe points out. Player-friendly at the Australian Open. Alcaraz and Sinner coming up soon. Tonight, Alcaraz takes on, who's this? Corentin Motet. There you go, Joe. You excited for that one?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to lay $15K to win 100, it's a great bet. Solid. Yeah. Just let me know when they're playing in the finals, Donnie.
Got to head to the predictive market to see what that's going to pay out today between Alcaraz and Motet on the line. We'll be right back with some spread lines coming up right after.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talk and says John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Thursday edition of the Early Line, trying to get you some spread lines that you need to know for tonight's action and, more importantly, this weekend's AFC and NFC championship games. We've been keeping you abreast on everything that's been changing in those market conditions, and we'll do that again today. New England and Denver. Drake May taking on Jarrett Stidham. No longer Bo Nix. Why? Because, as you know, he broke his ankle in last week's game, the second to last play of that victory against the Buffalo Bills. But this line, Joe, was 5.5 yesterday. It now sits at 4.5 at just about every every outlet across the board. 42.5 as a total, Joe. And we keep the people updated on the weather conditions. Getting colder by the day. We're now into the teens at kickoff, Joe. No precipitation, but winds starting to spike around 10 miles per hour. Colder conditions, line moving. What's your spread line for this game this weekend?
Talked to my friends in the risk rooms there yesterday, Donnie, and believe it or not, the only real steam and the only real respected betting money that they have seen so far is in this game's total. Because a lot of these places opened up 40.5, 41, 41.5, and the only movement and the only real money that they have seen come in on this game so far is in the total. So it even though it's getting a little colder, there doesn't appear to be any sort of issue as far as the things that cause problems, like it's going to be super windy or it's going to be raining sideways or there's 4 feet of none of that. So there appears to be a consensus in the market among the professional bettors that number was too low to begin with, Donnie, and they keep betting the over money. For the most part, the side, what you see is what you're going to get. This is not going to fluctuate any more or any less than the 4.5 to 5.5, Donnie.
And a storyline that's going to come out this week, already starting to come out, Joe. They interview the players, the beat writers do, for the Denver Broncos. Every one of them acting like Jarrett Stidham is Tom Brady. You just haven't seen him just yet. I knew that was going to take place, and look at that line starting to go lower and lower. We'll see where it ends up at the end of the week. Let's take a look at the Rams and Seattle Seahawks, Joe. 2.5 still the viable spot out here as that line starts to settle. We don't know if we're going to get to 3 or 2, but a total of 46.5, which is down from 47.5. You know what information I didn't want to hear yesterday from the Seattle Seahawks on the first day they were eligible to practice? Sam Darnold, limited out there, trying to protect that oblique. That could play into this game situation. What's your spread line here on a Thursday, Joe, now that we're seeing Darnold limited in action?
Well, it's interesting. Again, this was another game, 46.5. We saw as an opener total. And according to the guys in the back rooms, it's really been, if anything, more total money than side money so far. They are not anticipating this ever getting to 3, Donnie. And it makes sense because the 3 is such a key number in the NFL that the minute it does hit 3, it'll be gobbled up. It'll be back down to 2.5. If anything, the prevailing consensus is that they are likely, as those reports happen, Donnie, over the next day or so, we are likely to see more Ram money come in than we are Seattle money. Keep an eye on any of those headlines and news with Sam Darnold. Either which way, 2.5 is likely what we're going to be looking at here on kickoff.
Yep. Again, we'll be focused on those practice reports on Thursday and Friday alike here. The Houston Rockets going to take on the Philadelphia 76ers in Philadelphia, Joe. -2s to 2.5s across the board as a favorite for the Rockets. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is actually the third game in 4 nights for the Philadelphia 76ers. 221.5 is the total, but the Rockets, Joe, come to Philadelphia as favorites here and getting about 75% of those tickets. What's your spread line for that game tonight in Philadelphia?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the Rockets have been going through it. They haven't exactly been playing their best basketball here as of late. They're finding it kind of hard, although they did have a nice comeback there against San Antonio, and it was all because of Reed Shepherd in that game, and they're hoping that was the spark that can propel them forward because, Donnie, they went a month without being able to hit a 3, which wasn't great. But Philadelphia looks to have Embiid back here tonight. Looks like Paul George also is trending in that direction and playing. So when it comes to Philadelphia, Donnie, we're seeing 2 different versions of this team, depending on what the availability of both Embiid and Paul George are. But it looks like Embiid is going here tonight. And the market opened up overnight, -3 with Houston. And we've seen nothing but Philadelphia money early this morning.
By the way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their 5th straight home game for the Philadelphia 76ers takes place tonight against the Houston Rockets. Maybe they get some of that home cooking because they've lost 3 out of the 4 games already. Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers out West Coast tonight, Joe. The Battle of Los Angeles. The Lakers come into this game as an underdog of +1. You see the lines overnight around -2.5 to -2 for the Clippers, depending where you're shopping at. But now we see it settling in around a -1 favorite for the Clippers at home. Kawhi Leonard, of course, probably not going to be there tonight. James Harden, we'll see if he makes it. Questions on the Lakers, roughly a toss-up, Joe. What's your spread line for this game tonight in the Battle of L.A.?
Well, the Clippers have been red hot, and it all started, Donnie. They were 6-21 on the season on December 20th. That is when they shut down the Lakers 103-88 and then began winning 13 of their next 16 games. They're coming back. It's the first game home off a long road trip here. They just lost and kind of got beat up by Chicago, but like you said, no Kawhi Leonard. However, Kawhi Leonard is back to being questionable tonight. He has been in L.A. for the last couple of games here. He left the team to work on that knee. We'll see if he's available, but the Lakers have no interest in losing to the Clippers here. They had a nice effort in that last game, big effort in Denver to get it done. Now they got to take on the hot Clippers. Keep an eye on the injury report. Is Kawhi available? Is he not? Because if he becomes available, this line is going to change. And right now, Clippers opened up 2 overnight as a favorite. We're seeing closer to a pick 'em right now. That will change if Kawhi is healthy.
How about Wisconsin, Penn State tonight? Big Ten basketball at Penn State. Penn State getting plus 5.5 at home and a total of 159.5. I look at some of the metrics. Penn State's defense in effective field goal percentage, 345th in the country on defense. Terrible across the board on defense, Joe. What gives tonight, Wisconsin and Penn State for a spread line?
Yeah, it's the game, right? It's the best game of the night, and it fates Penn State 0-7 in conference play and just lost by 23 to the third worst team. And yet this line, Donnie, is suspiciously low for Wisconsin. Tread carefully with this game tonight.
Tread carefully in the NFL, who you're going to hire, who you're not going to hire. Get you caught up on the coaching carousel next, right here on the early line.
What is going on with this Ja Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talks and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, it's Cliff.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
As the world turns, specifically in the NFL, day after day, guys are getting new jobs here. OCs, DCs, and head coaches, but still a lot to be determined as we work through the process. One of those teams, the Arizona Cardinals, not a great ownership group to work for, but it is one of 32 jobs you're going to take because it's going to be a high-paying job, and maybe You don't ever get a chance at a head coaching job. You got to strike while the iron is hot. The Arizona Cardinals are going to bring in Jaguars defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli for a second in-person interview tomorrow for head coach. He's flying in. So today he's supposed to have that interview set up. Had a solid defense in Jacksonville. Maybe Arizona goes defense again out in the desert, Joe.
Okay. What are you going to do with Kyler Murray?
Move the needle.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what do you? Your issues are twofold in Arizona. You have an ownership group in which the players every year vote as the worst in the league, and now you have a lame duck quarterback who clearly has no interest in winning football games or doing anything other than playing PlayStation. So they've got a ton of issues there. But if it is your first, hurrah into head coaching, congrats. But be careful what you wish for here, because that is not a great situation.
Yeah, how do you get him off the games, right, is what it is. Are you watching your film at home? Yeah, I'm doing that. I remember back in the day, late 1980s with the Eagles, with Randall Cunningham. Wasn't studying his film. So they used to send you home with the projector tape, like that big wheel, and they put a piece of tape in there, only like 2 or 3 minutes into it. Randall brought the tape back the next day and said, hey, how was it? It was fantastic. Broke the entire game down. They wound it through. The tape was still in there. It did not fall out, so we didn't watch it at all. It feels like that's what you got to do with Kyler Murray. Like, did you play Call of Duty last night, or did you actually watch film? Maybe defensive coordinator shouldn't be the right decision that you make as a head coach, but still, a lot of things up in the air for Arizona. How about the Buccaneers? They finalized their offensive coordinator position with Zach Robinson, who also interviewed for the Philadelphia Eagles open offensive coordinator. A big push from Baker Mayfield. He's part of the Shanahan tree, Zach Robinson, and he finds himself in Tampa.
Yeah, Again, I mean, some smart decisions by some teams that needed to make some changes, right, Donnie? And a lot of these will fly under the radar, but yeah, I would expect some different results from a few teams. But you got it. Coaching matters in the NFL, Donnie, especially it's so hard to replace coordinators, good coordinators. So they're just as important a lot of times. Just ask Dan Campbell in Detroit how he's doing, or your Eagles on how easy it is to replace coordinators. Good ones, anyway.
How about Raheem Morris? Very good defensive coordinator, not so great as a head coach. I'm going to pick the spot for him right now. He said he's waiting out head coaching chances. He's not going to get one of those. You know where he's going to wind up? In San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. That's the MO, and that's a great move for the 49ers if they can get Raheem Morris.
And good for him. I mean, there are, work for Saleh, right? I mean, you'll be on the front page. You'll have a healthy Warner and Bosa next year to work with. You got a lot of pieces there. So provided they can move that practice field away from the substation, they'll be just fine in the 49ers.
How about the Bills requesting an interview with Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Udinski for their head coaching job? Is this guy the hottest thing since sliced bread, a 30-year-old? If he doesn't wind up getting a head coaching spot, well, who was lighting the flame for this guy even getting these interviews at this point? But usually where there's smoke, there's fire. He's probably going to get one of these jobs. Could it be the Bills at 30 years old?
Yeah, so your franchise quarterback and MVP is 30. So you're going to hire a dude that is the same age and less experience than he has. Yeah, this is not going to work. It's nice. I think everyone's interviewing for the next cycle, but very unlikely to get a head coaching job this turn.
How about the Falcons? They're expected to hire former Browns offensive coordinator Tommy Rees as a new OC for Kevin Stefanski. Hey, wait, have we seen that before? Rees in Cleveland with, already Stefanski. Now he just moves him along. Comfortability, sometimes the name of the game. Tommy Rees goes to the Atlanta Falcons as the OC.
Not a shock here, right? Only this time it looks like, well, he's still got a quarterback situation there that they're going to have to figure out in Atlanta. But Stefanski, he's surrounding himself with the right people and his people.
Here's what you can't do, Joe. When you fire a head coach like Sean McDermott, hire a guy who's one of his underlings as the offensive coordinator. It's almost like once you fire that coach, yes, you're going to interview some of those guys. You can't hire from within. Is it an upgrade when you already had the coach on your staff, but you didn't win as is? Go out of the building. It makes much more sense. Joe Brady interviewing for the Buffalo Bills head coach.
You said it. Nothing that they have done over the last 3 days makes any sense. And now if you're going to – and listen, you don't want to lose Joe Brady, and I get it, but then you probably shouldn't have fired McDermott because it just sends the wrong message. And I don't know that anything changes.
And now, by the way, who's going to be the GM now anyway if you get a bump from Bean? Man, Buffalo is an absolute mess right now. Let's get the association. What happened last night on the hardwood? We'll be right back.
What is going on with this John Morant saga? Right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade targets, and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's the head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Oh, those Brooklyn Nets. And that's where we're going to start right now. The Battle of New York City took place yesterday, Joe. The New York Knicks taking on the Brooklyn Nets. We previewed this game yesterday. And I said, hey, Joe, is there a chance that this game could be a blowout? We're sitting at minus 11.5, minus 12.5, and possibly so. At the end of the first quarter, it was an 18-point lead. But look at the four quarters that Brooklyn provided just offensively yesterday, Joe. 20 in the first, 18 in the second, 18 in the third, and completely got on the bus in the fourth quarter by scoring 10 points. The Nets scored 66 points as essentially the New York Knicks doubled them up 120-66. As embarrassing as a performance you're going to get. And the Knicks, fresh off of a booing performance on Martin Luther King Day, had a team meeting. Looks like it paid dividends.
What? Yeah, I mean, Donnie, why does it take a team meeting for you to put that kind of effort into every game? I do not understand. I get it. It's a long season, but the only thing you just proved to me right there by beating up the lowly Nets is that, yes, you're more than capable of bringing that kind of effort to the court every night, but you don't. And when you don't, that's where things go off the rails. So, yeah, kudos. Congratulations. You lost 9. It took you what? You lost 9 of 11 games to finally figure out, what are we doing? We got to put more effort in on the defensive side. It's ridiculous, Donnie. It really is.
Celtics hold serve at home. By the way, won the first quarter against the Pacers by 10 points, won the second quarter by 10 points, had a 20-point lead, but the game winds up 119-104, a cruise control victory for the Boston Celtics. You take a look at the leading scores for them. Who else? Jaylen Brown, 30 points. Every starter was at least in double digits for the Celtics as they cruise to a victory and improve to 27-16 on this season.
Yeah, didn't think that was going to be much of a issue in that game, Donnie. Celtics coming off a close loss on the road to the team that's ahead of them in Detroit, right, on Monday night. So expected a bounce back at home, and that's exactly what you got.
How about a rock fight, Joe? Cleveland taking on Charlotte on the road, 94-87 final. Look at the second quarter. First of all, Cleveland scored 33 points in the first quarter to 20 for Charlotte. So you had that 13-point lead already built up. A 12-point second quarter by Charlotte basically doomed them, and the Cavaliers just put that in the cruise control in the second half. Only needed 20 points in the third quarter and 18 in the fourth quarter to survive that victory there. Defense, defense, defense. The Cavaliers, 25-20 on the season now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that was what did them in, because had they had just a halfway decent second quarter, they come back and they beat the Cavs. I mean, it was that simple. So, they didn't shoot all that well early, but, I mean, they were 8 of 46 from three-point range. They were out-rebounded 60-47, and they still only lost by a couple of buckets here. So, kudos to the Cavs. They came out firing. They had 11 of their first 15 shots from the field to open a game, and that set the tempo, and then that was it.
Joe, Pistons got their 32nd win of the year last night, 112-104 against the New Orleans Pelicans. But as we previewed the game yesterday on the early line, that line sat at 9.5, close to double digits. So the Pelicans actually got the cover in this game. Jalen Duren scored 20 points last night, and also 20 points for Saddiq Bey in a losing effort for the New Orleans Pelicans here. Pelicans are 10-36 in the season, looking for ping pong balls. The Pistons, one of the best in the NBA, now sit with 32 wins.
Yeah, I mean, we heard different things, right? Zion was listed as questionable halfway in the day, and the line went through the roof, right, towards Detroit. Then we found out that Cunningham was questionable. Then it came all the way back down, and back and forth we go. Zion did play in the game with an illness, but he did go back to the locker room early in the third quarter and did not come back. I mean, he had 4 points and 4 rebounds at that point. But kudos that he gave it a shot at least. But Detroit never trailed in this game and ends up getting the easy win.
Question from that is, are we going to have a significant FBI check into that game where you said you were sick, you played a little bit, went to the locker room, a lot of those unders hit, and we might be able to find out in a couple years there. I'll tell you what didn't hit last night. That was the Milwaukee Bucks. They got dropped by 20 points on their home court. And, Joe, the margin of victory was 20. How about the first quarter itself? 38-18, a 20-point margin. Cruise controlled the rest of the way for OKC. SGA dropped 40 points last night, ultra efficient. 16 of 19 from the floor. Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 19 points. The Bucks sit at 18-25. The Thunder, most wins in the NBA at 37 as a total. The Milwaukee Bucks, are they just waiting, Joe, till the deadline here? Is this a dead season for them?
Well, no, they are low-key tanking here in a big way till they can figure out what to do with Giannis. But SGA, unbelievable. Second time since 1980 in which a guy has had 40 points, 10 assists, and shot 80% or better from the field in the game. He was on fire in that game last night.
Toronto and Sacramento. I had the Kings yesterday, Joe. I said, you know what? This looks like a good spot here. Let me take the points in this game. Sacramento won the first quarter by 4 points, won the second quarter by 5 points. Do the simple math. That's a double-digit lead at the break, only to find themselves in the third quarter, losing 43-21 in that quarter, and up in smoke it went. A double-digit victory for the Toronto Raptors, 122-109 over the lowly Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, hindsight is 20/20 here, but likely a fate of Toronto in the first half wouldn't have been a bad play here, given the fact that they were coming out of a game, Donnie, in which they shot 59%, 21 three-pointers, and an 18-point lead over Golden State. Now this was a second of a back-to-back. And like you mentioned, wasn't a great start for them in that game there. But eventually they came back and figured it out. But meanwhile, the Kings just, they could not figure it out in the second half here. But it's a lot of points in 2 games for the Toronto Raptors.
Really is, yeah. Getting points at home, up double digits at the break. It crushed in the third quarter, just the way it certainly rolls out. And also one of those early public fades that turned into the actual public side by the end of the day. Congratulations if you backed the Raptors and picked up that victory there. The Atlanta Hawks went on the road to the Grindhouse in Memphis, 124-122 final. The victors, the Atlanta Hawks. Why? Jalen Johnson had 32 points in that game, which included 10 made free throws in the 2-point victory over Memphis. You take a look at the stars for Memphis last night. Ja Morant, 23 points. Jalen Wells, 18 points. Just wasn't enough. Both of these teams under 500 on the season.
Yeah, and I really did like Atlanta in this game last night because of what they did in that second half against Milwaukee on Monday, Donnie. I mean, they came back from 23 points and had an opportunity to win it as time ran out in that game, and they fell just short. But it looked like they had finally figured something out offensively here, Atlanta, and you saw it again last night. Meanwhile, Memphis, first game back, we do this in the NFL. Donnie, when these teams go overseas to play a game and then they come back and we look to fade them. Now, that was Memphis last night. So keep that in mind as we start playing more of these overseas games in the NBA. Takes a little to get it straight here when they get back. And Ja Morant, what a nice night. Had a 3 at the buzzer that doinked off for the win. So, oops, fell a little short, Memphis.
Let me ask you this question, too, as we take a look at Milwaukee and the trade line coming up here. And we're talking about Milwaukee wants to keep Giannis happy, which means you got to get a really good player in town. But we don't know if that's even going to work out. Like Giannis citing chemistry issues, selfish play is one of the headlines here they have. Is it like where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire, and it's hard to trade superstars, specifically if you're a market like Milwaukee, to do that and try to recover. Do we actually think that Giannis is going to get help more in Milwaukee, Joe? Or is it more likely that Giannis will be shipped out by the trade deadline?
No, I think that it's time to hit the reset button in Milwaukee, right? Because this group is not cutting it. I mean, Kyle Kuzma is laughably bad. And what else did you surround? I mean, you brought in Damian Lillard because you thought that was going to be the answer. Well, that wasn't the answer. So now what do you do here? I think that you can't keep putting Band-Aids on what is eventually going to lead to open heart surgery here, Donnie. And that is where the Milwaukee Bucks as an organization is right now. And you'll be able to restructure the franchise by getting Giannis out the door and giving him what he wants. Because otherwise, a disgruntled superstar, how many times have we seen it, Donnie? It doesn't work.
Way too many times is when we've seen it here, and that's just the way it certainly goes down sometimes here. We're out to break as we go, people. We'll be right back.
What is going on with this Ja Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade targets, and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on. Go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Let's get down to the business in the NBA tonight, right here on the early line on the Sports Grid Network. Donnie Wrights out along with Joe Ranieri in the city of brotherly love. The Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Houston Rockets, the fifth straight home game for the Philadelphia 76ers. Losers of 3 out of their first 4 at home. Maybe they rebound tonight, but they are the underdog. Opening lines overnight, -2.5 or so for the Houston Rockets. That's down to 2s and 1.5s, depending on where you're shopping at, Joe, and a total of 221.5. Full go Sixers at home against the Rockets? Could be. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, no, it could very well be. Rockets actually came from behind in a big effort at home last game against San Antonio there. It has not been a great month for them. They've had these shooting woes, especially from 3, but Reed Shepherd appears to have found the stroke for them and really kind of ignited the comeback there against San Antonio, and they're hoping that continues here. But we mentioned it, Donnie. You know, the Sixers, it appears we get 2 different teams on some nights, right? Because Embiid is good to go again here tonight for this game. Paul George remains questionable, but it looks like he is trending towards playing. So this is, I would rather have Embiid in the lineup against the Rockets than anything else. The Rockets were a 3-point favorite overnight. We've seen some Philadelphia money come in this morning. And I agree with it. You know, with Embiid on the court, it's a different team. And I think the matchup is pretty good here for the Sixers at home against this Rockets team, who I'm not sold has actually found their perimeter game yet.
Hornets going to take on the Magic tonight in Orlando. The Magic, roughly a touchdown favorite, sitting at -6.5 at just about every outlet, Joe. A total of 229.5 here. Charlotte going up against the Magic. What do we got tonight?
Yeah, Charlotte got absolutely embarrassed in that game yesterday there and against the Cavs, although they made a spirited effort in the second half. I would expect a big effort from them here tonight, but it is the second of a back-to-back. You've got Orlando with the rest advantage here, and you have an Orlando team that has, well, got a little healthier, right? Franz Wagner is back now, so they've got one of their leading scorers back on the court. It's a tough spot for Charlotte. I expect a big effort from them, but likely they're going to come up a little bit short against the very physical Orlando Magic.
Denver Nuggets taking on the Washington Wizards. Denver is on the road here. Opened up overnight as a -6-point favorite or so. It now sits at 5.5 across the board, but a total of 231.5. 75% of the tickets pouring in this morning for the Denver Nuggets taking on the Wizards, Joe. What do we see here from the Nuggets-Wizards matchup?
Listen, even a shorthanded Denver team here should have no issues dealing with the Washington Wizards here. And in fact, I think this is this is a 3-game homestand that ended. And I think they just played the Wizards, I think, Donnie. And Jamal Murray had 42 in that game. Hardaway Jr. had 30. And they basically ran away from Washington. I don't see how they're not going to do this in this one as well. But the good news for Denver is it appears Valanciunas and the Joker are trending coming back sooner rather than later. But they should have no problem handling business here tonight.
How about the Golden State Warriors no longer having Jimmy Butler, but a 3.5-point favorite overnight is now ballooning to -5.5 on the road to take on the Dallas Mavericks. That could probably mean one thing, some injuries or some guys sitting out for the Dallas Mavericks. That total, 232.5. Warriors, Mavericks in Dallas tonight, Joe.
Yeah, well, a question. I mean, the Warriors got some, they got to figure it out. And what they have come up with, and we said this, Donnie, the minute Jimmy Butler was lost for the season, well, there's no more trade talk about Jonathan Kuminga because it looks like he is back in the mix now for the Golden State Warriors. And don't forget, I mean, he did a great job for them last year on that playoff run with him and Jimmy Butler because Steph Curry, don't forget, remember, pulled his hamstring in the postseason against Minnesota. And then, but he came in a big way. I mean, he did a great job, but he hasn't played because they've been stashing him in the, did not available list because he keeps saying either play me or trade me. He demanded a trade, but they can't afford to trade him here. So I'm going to be very interested to see the effort here that the Warriors give with him on the floor. But the reality is Dallas, too many injuries and question marks. Keep an eye on whether Cooper Kupp is actually going in this Cooper Flagg, rather, is actually going in this game because he is still questionable. And without him, there is no scoring punch to the Mavericks.
Don't fault Joe. He's got football in the mind, and rightfully so this weekend. Big Cooper Cup action maybe for Joe this weekend.
I got
Chicago
Cooper,
Bulls
right?
in the minute. There you go. First name is all you need. That's all we need in this sport. Bulls, Timberwolves here. Close to a double-digit favorite here for the Minnesota Timberwolves at home, Joe, and a high total of 239.5. T-Wolves at home to take on the Bulls. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, and I believe Josh Giddey back in the mix here for Chicago, and we just saw them boat race the Clippers, right? So, yeah, I would only look at an over in this game. And don't forget, Minnesota coming off just a horrific loss there the other night against Utah. And now they are home, though, and I would expect a big effort offensively from everybody involved in this game. Yeah, over in a big way.
Battle of L.A. tonight, Joe. Lakers, Clippers. Now, we talked about this game earlier. 1-point favorite for the Clippers at home, but that could change due to availability of some players tonight on each one of these teams, and a total of 224.5 at the Intuit Dome tonight, the Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, so the good news is that Kawhi Leonard is listed as questionable. He was overnight anyway, which means there's a chance he plays in this game. So I would want to know what the availability is. Missed the last couple of games. He left the team on the road trip to get his knee worked on back home. We'll see if he goes. But if he does go, Donnie, this line is changing. I mean, they opened up as a 2-point favorite overnight. It is kind of swung towards the Lakers this morning. But to me, this is all about the availability of Kawhi Leonard in this game.
San Antonio Spurs on the road to take on the Jazz is roughly 2 touchdown favorites, sitting at -13 and -12.5 at many outlets here. A total of 238.5. Full go Spurs. Are they going to dominate the Jazz in their own building, Joe?
No, I don't think so here, because Utah they are feisty. And by the way, I mean, Lauri Markkanen much better at home and is likely available for this game. Even though Utah beat the Timberwolves without him, this is a much better team at home. And the Spurs kind of feel like they're going through the motions right now. 12.5 is a big number, Donnie.
See how they handle that smoke here. Let's get to the college basketball action from last night. Important games as we march to March Madness. We'll be right back after this short break. %7 chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scottie Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scottie's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scottie Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Kramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
We're now in the late stages of January as we get closer to March Madness here. Big games on the docket each and every night in conference basketball play, which included Arizona in the Big 12, undefeated in the Big 12, undefeated on the season, stays that way. Now 19-0 on the season, 6-0 in the Big 12 after dusting off Cincinnati at home, 77-51, Joe. A smash job last night by the Arizona Wildcats.
Yeah, let's face it. We talked about this game yesterday on the show, Donnie. Not a huge surprise. What I was surprised is how Cincinnati played in the first half, because this was 33-27 at the break, Donnie. It was way closer than we thought it was going to be. And all day long, we saw nothing but Cincinnati money come in. This game closed 13 and a half after it opened up 15 and a half. So a lot of people had thought maybe Cincinnati's pressure defense would affect Arizona. Well, it did for the first half. It did not in the second half, but Arizona's defense certainly affected Cincinnati. So they've just barely made it over 50 points. And when that happens, you're not beating Arizona in any way, shape, or form.
Smoke Show also here in the Big Ten. Illinois looking to stay up atop of the standings, improves to 7-1 in the Big Ten, 16-3 overall. Maryland, things aren't faring that well here with their new coach. 8-11 on the season, 1-7 in the Big Ten after Illinois 89-70 over the Maryland Terrapins. Tough night there, tough season for Maryland.
And you got to love it because Illinois closes an 18.5-point favorite, and they won by 19, Donnie. You got to love that. But listen, Illinois had a rough week. I mean, Monday, their second leading scorer and one of their best guards breaks his hand in practice. And it didn't matter because apparently they dropped 47 on Maryland in the first half, and that was pretty much all she wrote from that point. Maryland, very disappointing season here, not going well at all. Some people thought they might have actually turned a quarter after that last game with the win, but no. To make matters worse, they got to take on Michigan State on Saturday. So a bad season is about to get worse for Maryland.
See what happens when you actually have to join a conference most of the time. Well, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are now 1-5 in the ACC and 10-9 overall after they got drubbed on the road against North Carolina. 91-69 as UNC improves to 15-4 on the season and 3-3 in the ACC.
Yeah, listen, Notre Dame had come into this game losers of 4 straight. They lost their best player, Marcus Burton, to an ankle injury in early December, and they have just not been the same since, and it's not going to get any better. And it felt like North Carolina coming back from that West Coast trip in which they struggled big time there, lost to Cal, right? They were having to, Stanford handled them. Tough road trip, but they came home and it feels like, good night's sleep in their own bed. And they came out and absolutely pulverized Notre Dame, who is going to be lucky to be 500 when it's all said and done.
3 unbeatens left in major Division I college basketball. One of those teams is the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the top 10 as they faced Washington last night at home and came away with a double-digit victory, 76-66 over Washington, improving Nebraska, just like Arizona, to 19-0 in the season, but 8-0 in the Big Ten. How about Nebraska?
Dating back to last season, too, right? 23 straight games they have won in conference. So kudos to them. They are doing it. They've always been a very good team at home, Donnie. But give Washington credit. They were a 10.5, 11-point underdog heading into this game. It was another one where the hook matters, Donnie. And it mattered if you took Washington last night there at 10.5 because that final score says 10, but they were never in jeopardy, the Cornhuskers, of losing this game. But now you've still got 3 undefeated teams in the country, Donnie. So will there be one of those 3 that run the table? I think our prediction market saw it at, 60 cents, 65 cents there, that there will be at least one undefeated team in college basketball at the end of the regular season.
Gonzaga could have had a shot at that, didn't lose by 40 points to Michigan here, but Gonzaga took care of business last night in the kennel, and Gonzaga goes 20-1 on the season, 8-0 in the WCC with a 24-point victory over Pepperdine, who drops to 6-15 on the season and 1-7 out there in the West Coast Conference.
They were laying 28.5, Donnie. At the nerve of the Zags to only win by 24. That's all. How dare you only win by 24 and not cover that? Pepperdine is awful. But the Zags, very much going to be a player in March, Donnie. You can count on that.
Can't wait to see it play forward. We're getting a lot closer to March Madness, so stick it here with the SportsGrid Network as we enter into hour number 2. More hot topics absolutely are on the way. We'll be right back.